Whether you have a seasoned podcast or you're getting ready to start a podcast, you may want to start thinking about doing some Facebook Live videos, or maybe you shouldn't. I got the answer for you coming up here shortly. Stick around. Thanks for watching. My name is the Shan radio broadcaster, podcaster, and podcast producer. And today let's talk about doing Facebook Live feeds with your podcast. And this is something that I think a lot of podcasters think is going to be the make or break for them when it comes down to their podcast. And I want to go over a couple of the nuances of doing a Facebook Live feed with your podcast. So the other day I was in my feed on Facebook and I saw a friend of mine doing his podcast on Facebook Live. And it was a quadrant of 4, and it was the host and then 3 of his guests, and they were all talking. And during that entire conversation that they were having, they were recording the podcast to release into iTunes for the following week or wherever. But on the Facebook Live feed, they were just talking with each other. Now, in that live feed, they had listeners or viewers coming in, and they were commenting. These viewers were commenting. And the host was not really addressing too much of what was going on inside of the live feed. He was focusing mainly on the people that he was on camera with. So I want to go over and kind of clarify what you should do when it comes down to deciding whether you want to create a Facebook Live feed in tandem with your podcast. Let's say you come up with this idea and you say it'd be really cool to do a podcast and record it via Facebook Live. There are a couple rules that you need to kind of follow when it comes down to doing a Facebook Live feed, all right? And I've written a couple of them down here on my little sheet of paper. One thing that you have to remember is that when you are starting a Facebook Live on your page or your profile, preferably I'm hoping that you're doing it on some type of brand page, I'm hoping that you have some type of follower that is going there. So whether you have 600 people on your Facebook page or you have 1,000 or you have 11,000, doesn't matter. As long as you have some people on that page, you're able to garner some type of interaction on your Facebook Live, okay? That's the only way that this would work, okay, is that if you have people coming in and interacting. Now, when you do your Facebook Live, you kind of have to treat this as a means or a way to tease the content of your podcast. So what I'm asking you as the podcaster to do is that you just tease part of the content that you are creating for your podcast, because the whole idea here is that you want to get downloads to your podcast. You don't want people to really just consume the entire podcast and not get the download. That would kind of be, it would cancel pretty much everything out. Your people are already watching. They can watch everything on your Facebook Live if they really wanted to. What you're looking for is the download. You want to get the download from iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play, or wherever you're getting your podcast, okay? So treat your Facebook Live as a driver of traffic to your podcast. So you can do, say, like a segment that is on your podcast that you normally do every week, but you only do one part of that segment or a quarter of that segment, and you can say, if you want to catch the rest of it, you're going to have to tune into the podcast next week. Always try to drive traffic to your podcast if you're doing some type of Facebook Live feed, okay? Now, the same is going to be said if you are doing a podcast. If you do a podcast, you want to say, hey, we are doing a Facebook Live coming up this Thursday at 7 p.m. We're going to play a special game where we talk about the craziest celebrity. Tune into Facebook Live on our page. All you have to do is go to our website and give the website name out or the link to where they can find your Facebook page or your like page, okay? So use that, each platform as a means to drive traffic to each other, okay? The one thing that I really want to press you on here, though, is that if you're going to do a live feed, you have to engage. Anytime that I have ever done a Facebook Live feed, you can go to my page on Facebook and see that anytime that I have done a Facebook Live feed, I am constantly engaging with my audience. And when I am engaging with my audience, I'm building a community of people who will come back and follow what I am doing. So engage with your audience. Now, what if you don't have a large audience? And what if you're like, well, there's like 5 people that show up? Doesn't matter. How you are going to get people to comment is by asking questions to those people who are watching later. Say, hey, for those of you who are watching this on replay, answer this question. Who was a better Hulk, the CGI version or was it Lou Ferrigno? Answer in the comments below, and we will go ahead and get back to you if you're watching this, as a replay. So you want to be constantly driving engagement to your posts, okay? And this is going to lead into my next point, is that there was a post that came out from Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook today where he's talking about the engagement that pages will be getting, actually the lack of engagement that pages will be getting on Facebook. As you already know, if you already have a page on Facebook, you're not getting too much traction when you create a post, right? So you get a couple people who are following your page and it just doesn't get very much traction, right? But if you do live video with great interaction, Mark wants to create, or I guess reward, from what I understand, reward those brands that are creating community around their live video. So it's important that you understand that you're creating some type of community and engagement within that live video and fostering some type of community with that live video. That is going to be the key. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to leave a link to my blog that is down in the description below, and you can read that post that is on the blog and see what it is all about and see what Mark is talking about. But from what I understand and the way I am seeing it with brands are going to see less engagement, less visibility in the newsfeed, and you're going to start seeing more you're going to see more content that is more about people, not brands. So if you want to try and muscle your way in with your brand, it's going to be a lot harder, but I feel as though if you're going to be doing it, do it through a live video and build community where people are interacting back and forth, not just typing one-word answers, okay? So how are you creating your podcasts with Facebook Live? Are you doing that yet? Have you been doing that for quite some time? I'd love to hear what you have to say. I see a lot of people are subscribing to this channel, and I would love to hear what you guys' comments are. So definitely comment down below. Let me know what you think. Are you going to be using some type of strategy to get people to go to your podcast? Go ahead and leave a comment, and I'll get back to you. I promise you that. I do get back to all of my comments as fast as I possibly can. And if you're starting a podcast for the very first time, go ahead and click right here, and there's a quick start guide that you can go ahead and download to starting your very first podcast. And of course, that link is down in the description below. And subscribe to this video, and the best thing that you can do for me, is share this video out to your friends on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever. To all your friends who are looking to start a podcast or need some tips, I love the shares on these videos. So thanks so much for watching this week, and I'll catch you next time.